I want to start off this episode with a more interactive component. You know, we've been having a lot of conversations with each other, but we wanted to have some conversations with our audience. So we asked what questions they might have for us, and we got a lot of interesting stuff.
Some good, interesting questions, and I spread.
Yeah. So this episode, we're going to be interesting. We're going to be answering interesting questions.
But don't we already do a thing, an intro? Or I guess are you doing it now?
I was just vibing. I don't know.
Okay. Because I feel like we do two intros because we do one.
Now I'm entirely cut off, so I guess I'll start from the beginning.
Yeah. From the top. Be serious this time.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Welcome to Curiosity Theory, y'all. It's your co-host, Dr. Dakotah Tyler, and your co-host,
Mr. Fascinate.
Justin Shaifer, the man, the mythological man.
I would say so.
Is that the saying? The mythological man, the legend?
The man, the myth, the legend. Yeah. So today we're going to be answering some questions from some interesting folks that follow us and want to hear more.
Yeah, absolutely. And subscribe to our Patreon for more Q&A. You get a little exclusive Q&A, but we're going to do some rapid fire just from the questions that were submitted on social media. Just go ahead and get started out with something deep and introspective. Probably more philosophical, but ... Can, quote, all things exist in reality even if unobservable?
That's an interesting question. Do you want to take a stab at it first?
Sure. Yeah, sure. So can all things exist in reality? Well, it's like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
All things that can exist, I think, can exist in reality, but there's probably many things that can't due to limitations from physics.
Right. But I guess if something is unobservable, can it still exist in
Even
reality?
if unobservable.
Yeah, right. If we are unable to observe something, it can still exist. For a long time, we were unable to observe a black hole, but it existed.
So something's ability to exist is not correlated to its ability to be observed by us.
So I guess theoretically, anything could exist. Is that?
Oh, and it's just that we can't.
So that was, I think that's what it meant by like all things, maybe.
Even if unobservable. Is that what it meant? I don't know. I feel like that there are some things I'm comfortable saying don't exist. Like a star that's made of jello. I feel like that can't exist. I also feel like but I don't feel like that would be unobservable. I feel like that would be observable.
Right.
But the thing is if you had that much jello in a star, what you would have happening is fusion in the core. You know, so it like wouldn't be jello anymore.
It wouldn't be jello anymore. Yeah.
So then a jello-sized star couldn't exist and also would not be observable.
Right. But a diamond planet could exist, but it's also not been observable.
I don't know about that.
Well, diamond is like crystallized carbon, right? It's just
it's
really compressed over lots of pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, this is exoplanets, so it's clearly it's not my wheelhouse.
The thing is, so there's this meme that goes around about a planet that is diamond, and that like literally the planet itself is made of diamond, and that really got debunked. So the way that we can't see exoplanets, by the way, the vast majority of them. Some of them you can directly image, but that's sort of in rare and special cases. The planets that are most of the planets that we know of, we know their mass, we know their size, so you can like come up with a density. And the diamond planet 55 Cancri E, it was the first super Earth ever discovered. So the first planet that's like a larger rocky version of Earth. They initially thought that the star had a disproportionately high amount of carbon.
Mm-hmm.
And so they extrapolated from there that the planet, which is made of the same stuff that the star is made of, must also have a disproportionately high amount of carbon. And if you have, a ton of carbon on a planet, then you could say, this is probably a planet that deep down is a diamond. But they made follow-up observations, and I think that they used the wrong method in determining the carbon content of the star. So the star doesn't have as much carbon as they said that it did, or as they initially thought. But this diamond planet 55 Cancri E mythology has been propagating for many years, and you'll still see people talking about it. But I don't think anybody who studies it, which actually one of my colleagues one of the people in my research group at UCLA has worked on that planet. And yeah, she was saying that her and the people on the team, like nobody really thinks that it's a diamond planet. So
That's interesting.
yeah, not to like turn this and get too scientific down this ADHD
you
rabbit
already
hole.
got there. Yeah, no, you got us
Question
there.
one.
You got us
Okay,
there.
let's do it.
Well, okay, here's another one, less in that rabbit hole. Are PhDs simply a way of taking advantage of students as essentially free labor?
Are they a way of taking advantage of students as a way of free labor? Free labor, I would say no, because at least STEM PhDs get paid. They also get their education paid for. And then maybe you have to like teach or you do research and you get paid for that. So I wouldn't say free labor. Are they being taken advantage of? Yeah, you're not really being paid for the skills that you have, right? You're doing like high level, cutting edge research. You're not getting paid like a high level, cutting edge researcher. So
yeah, I mean, I was in an education doctoral program, which is obviously separate from the STEM ones. And yeah, it kind of definitely had that feeling. And that was part of the reason why I ended up leaving the program and became an entrepreneur, because I figured I could get more bang for my buck there, more impact.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that a PhD is simply that, though.
Yeah, no, it's
much more.
I think that would be a blanket statement for sure. Okay, I guess here's a related one. Is academia broken?
Is academia broken?
That's
same sort of thing there. So I guess both of these questions came from the same person too. So I wonder if they're having like a bad experience in academia. Is it broken? Like what does that mean?
Well,
does it not work anymore? Do they not produce high level research?
My interpretation of it is like I would say it's not, academia is not broken, but perhaps our educational system is outdated, right? A lot of the things that we are learning about or the skills that we need to survive in today's workplace are not being effectively taught in the modern educational system.
In academia?
And I mean,
I think that every skill that I learned in my graduate program is highly applicable to everything that I do.
I don't know if that's the case for every academic.
You think so?
I think a lot of academics would have a challenge with the skills that they're learning being applicable in their field of study in an applied way that's maybe outside of the context of research.
So is that a problem with academia? But what is academia? To me, that's like college and beyond, like that track.
Higher education.
Yeah. I feel like that's very accurate for like schooling up to grad school, but I don't think that that's accurate in grad school. But it might be in some fields. Like, yeah.
I mean, I can think of, again, I go to like a non-STEM graduate programs. I think about some of like MBAs, right? This is a commonly, if you would say MBA falls into that scope.
Would you? I guess I wouldn't.
I wouldn't really consider MBA super academic, but it's graduate school, right? Like a lot of people argue that MBAs are not that useful after you get them and spend all that money on them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't. I guess I don't have a lot to say about the MBA specifically, but in general, I think academia definitely prepares you for academia. Does it prepare you for like industry or non-academia? Not in a straightforward way, but you can absolutely make it work for yourself. But that's not what a PhD is for. They're not training you like, you know what I mean? It is sort of like specializing in academia. It's not the same as undergrad where they're preparing you to like go out into the. So I feel like it's probably like broke. It's like there are some ways in which it works and there are some ways in which it doesn't.
Right. Fair answer. Yes.
Here we go. This is a good one. Do you think religion and curiosity about the universe can coexist in some way?
Absolutely. I mean, I know tons of people that are curious about the universe that also identify as religious. Like, yeah, I don't think that's neither is a prerequisite for the other.
Same.
Yeah.
I know plenty of scientists across in many fields that are also religious. I think that one thing maybe that they're all clear on, or I think pretty outwardly spoken about, is that these like religious texts aren't science texts, right? So it's like you're not gonna figure out how the Earth came to be in like a planetary formation sense from the Bible.
Right. And I think this
These two things are separate.
Right. And this goes back to something we've talked about previously about how there are these scientific beliefs that we all hold that kind of get us through the day or keep us motivated or keep us mentally healthy.
Yeah.
So I don't think the science is the end all be all for how we live our lives.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I mean, those things can totally exist, and they do. And, you know, perhaps some scientists that you know or follow, you may not know, are also religious. What was your PhD application process like? Did you incorporate football into your application? So I know that it's getting close is it getting close to application season? Kind of. Yeah, it's kind of getting close to application season. So my process was, or maybe I'll talk about the things that I thought to do in my grad apps. And they were figure out how to demonstrate my undergrad research, like the research I had done, have a strong suite of recommendation letter writers, rec letter writers, and have like strong personal and research statements. Obviously, that's kind of goes without saying. And then the last thing is your GPA, your academic body of work as an undergrad. Now that can be a hard thing to adapt late, unless you have the opportunity to like retake a class. Maybe you did bad in one class and it's kind of pulling down your GPA or something like that. But you've got to think about this is like a process that is best constructed over multiple years, where you are thinking about getting in and doing research early. Then you'll get a recommendation letter from a professor at your undergrad institution. And if you can apply and do research somewhere else during the summer, like an REU or something like that, you get additional research and another recommendation letter writer. And then, you know, having a strong GPA and working diligently and, you know, getting feedback and trying to find a mentor or something like that can help you with your personal statements and your like mission statement as a grad student. That's kind of how I thought about packaging my application. So I definitely also mentioned football. You know, that's a part of my story is like kind of being redirected and then going through starting at community college and like going through that whole process. So I absolutely used it. That was in my personal statement. And this is the thing that's like unique to you. Like what's your story?
Right. And I think that's a very compelling story. And I think it is helpful if you have some forethought about that as you're going. Like when I was applying to my doctoral program, I had made my cartoon series, Hood Science, and I was working on the Magic Cool Bus project, which was like our STEM bus that was traveling and reaching people. And I was already doing this work in the community. And so it was like a doctor of education, science education. And so in addition to my undergraduate experience, went to some REUs, I kind of had this narrative about who I wanted to be as a career, you know, or as like what kind of career I wanted to have. And like I would start to make moves strategically that would paint that narrative so that when I applied for an additional education, additional job opportunities, I just kind of had this like story, right?
Yeah.
And obviously you have to adapt and evolve that over time. But I think it's something that, you know, as a younger person, you can be really intentional about.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like keeping in mind that there is, like the packaging of yourself and the things that you can do to like bolster that up, be it like extracurricular activities or whatever other leadership roles.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah. I think leadership roles on campus, definitely like football, extracurriculars. Trying to get an internship every summer. You know, even you know, if you're in STEM, you know, applying for these like research grants and things like that. Like these are all people that can help you later.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Let's see.
Oh, this one's interesting. So this one is going to be super speculative. Any predictions on how Earth will look in 10,000 years? 10,000 years. I mean, that's a long time, man.
Imagine asking
How was
a
life
person 10,000 years ago
what life would be like.
Probably would have said much the same. They'd be hunting woolly mammoths.
They would have had no context for any
still
of the
like
stuff
trying to iron out agriculture.
If we look around the room, like what, besides chairs, like what existed 10,000 years ago?
You think chairs existed 10,000 years ago?
Place to sit? Maybe a rock. Yeah, they weren't like they weren't sculpted or molded.
When?
Yeah, maybe they were rocks. Chairs were invented. Chairs were invented after 10,000 years ago. Let's be clear.
I see that the chairs were first invented in ancient Egypt around 3100 BC. This is an AI review, so you know this is not rigorously fact checked. But interesting. Imagine the first chair. Must have blew the shit out of everybody's mind.
Yeah, but you know, like before that, maybe we didn't have lower lumbar problems because you know, like our
People
bodies
probably
aren't
had stronger legs.
probably. Which it seems like you don't really need a lot of help there. You don't miss leg. This guy doesn't miss leg day.
Strong legs, man. That's key to good astronomy.
I would say so. Firmly rooted. But 10,000 years from now.
10,000 years from now,
Where are
I
we
would
gonna
say one of two things happen. So I don't really think that intelligence in the way that we have it, like in the ability to like affect your environment and be technological in the way that we are, I think that that's an evolutionary dead end and that eventually we'll come to it. I don't think it'll be like in our lives. I don't think that it's
is
like
an evolutionary dead end?
the kind we have. Yeah.
Because of our tendencies to
Because
advantage
the
of each
ability that we have starts to exponentially outpace our biology, our like decision making.
Okay.
You know, we still clearly have all of the tribal things that, you know, our ancestors who were maybe fighting each other over like a herd of animals
Right.
or for literal physical territory
So the next
that you needed to
frontier-
like get food off of or something. They're
Right.
fighting with sticks or their fists or even like bows and arrows. And we still have that same tendency, but now we have nuclear weapons.
Right.
And that's just one example. We could also talk about the AI thing. Like it's clear that nobody really knows what's going to happen.
Right.
We're still doing it as fast as we possibly can.
Yeah, and we talk about the singularity, right? This merger between us and technology, and it does seem like at some point, if we're going to become a spacefaring civilization, if we're going to survive on this planet continuously in harmony with our environment, like we're going to want to start bioengineering ourselves in some way. Like that seems like
That's what you think is going to be like in 10,000 years?
I think that's going to be in the next 1,000 years. Give
You
or
asked
take.
Peter Thiel, it might be sooner than you think.
We might already be in Peter Thiel's hive mind. But 10,000 years from now, man, it's so hard to conceptualize. I do think we would be approaching what would be known as a type 1 civilization for sure, meaning we have control over our entire planet based on this Kardashev scale. Like the energy resources, we can harness all of them.
What makes you think that's possible? People like reference the Kardashev scale as though that's like
it's
a
like
thing.
factual. Yeah, it's definitely purely
It could be completely impossible.
Could be completely impossible, but I think our capabilities will approach something similar to it. I mean, you could have said that about flying like 150 years ago. Like,
well, we see animals fly, so we know it's possible.
Right, and I mean, we see animals that are more energetically efficient than we are.
We don't see any animals harnessing the power of the planet.
Not yet. In 10,000 years we will. No, but I do think if there are extra terrestrial civilizations, I do think we would have seen something by 10,000 years from now. I think our telescopes will be sufficiently advanced. If they're on an exponential growth curve, we'll be able to. Man, it'd be cool to optically visualize exoplanets. I think that's a cool thing. That doesn't sound as far out as 10,000 years though.
Well, I mean, the limitation there is like the size of telescope that you have.
Which you could make I'm thinking in big scales. You could make a moon-sized telescope.
That wasn't affected by gravity? It would collapse under its own gravity.
With today's technology.
Oh, are they going to be like changing the laws of physics in the future?
I mean, the laws of physics based on the way that we understand them today, I don't know. Like 10,000 years from now, we're on an exponential growth.
No, you're right.
Trajectory.
Who knows? Whatever the thing is that you would tell me that literally exists, if we are still around,
right.
I wouldn't believe it.
Right. If you're
like, no, that's not really possible.
If you're hunting elephants, and what's the ancestor to elephants? The precursor. No, the mammoths. If you're hunting mammoths and elephants with spears, and you were to tell us
that's not the precursor to elephants.
No, I'm saying 10,000 years.
You talking about like like the brown hairy ones?
The woolly mammoths. If there was like those people, right, during the Ice Age, they were hunting woolly mammoths.
Those
right?
people,
individuals with spears. If you said, look, we're gonna have these like devices. They're basically like sand, but they're compressed.
You couldn't even explain it to them.
Or that like that circle in the sky, like we're gonna go there and land on it. And we have these like things called vehicles. Like you couldn't even explain society today to someone from that time period.
Like how would you explain that we can speak to each other with messages that ride at the speed of light on a radio wave from a phone?
So it's almost like we couldn't even. I think we wouldn't be able to comprehend.
This is an impossible question to answer. Basically, it's kind of like what you're.
I imagine that Earth in 10 years will be beyond our ability. 10,000 years will be beyond our ability to comprehend.
I think I'm comfortable with that for sure. And I would even say that it to a higher degree than where we are now is to 10,000 years ago. Like the jump from then to now will be
even more exponential,
feeble than the jump from now to
Yeah, it would be cool.
So we can't. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be cool to stick around.
No way. There's no satisfying answer to this question.
Except for that, we definitely wouldn't know. But it'd be a fun ride. Be a fun ride.
Any chances of doing physical stuff, i.e., I'm getting any funny ideas, i.e., exercise, swimming, yoga, like together?
I don't know if they wanted like a bro yoga episode. We can't swim and do a podcast. Maybe we could swim and do something.
Do you swim much?
I actually learned to swim at 18 years old when I was a marine science major because we were out in the ocean and I couldn't swim. And I was like, dang, I should probably learn how to swim sitting out here.
Was it scary?
Yeah.
To learn how to swim?
Yeah, because I sink. Like, actually, I was in a class full of football players and we all sank to the bottom. And
you're just so jacked.
Well, dude, I mean,
yeah, bro, I know. Like a rock.
On a percentage basis, I have like more muscle mass.
Yes, I know.
And it was harder for me to float.
Yeah.
Than
just
most
so
people.
Ripped.
Especially at that time.
Yeah.
You know?
So, but you learned that though, how you can swim now?
Yeah, I can swim now. Yeah. Reasonably.
Okay.
So maybe we'll do that. You do yoga?
No, we're not going to be swimming or doing yoga.
You don't do yoga?
I mean, yeah, sure. I would and have before.
Yeah.
But I don't know why we would do it. Do you right? What do you mean?
Maybe they're trying to get us to do something scientific with it. I don't know. Just any chances of doing any physical stuff with Dakotah? Not sure. Not sure about that.
Exactly. If you had 2 minutes, this is a good one. If you had 2 minutes to educate the whole world on something, what would you say?
2 minutes? Is it gonna work? Are they gonna learn?
Oh, see, look, now you gotta like TikTokify it to get people to pay attention.
I gotta make a video.
Yeah, is it like a scroll? Right, yeah. Like, or did they have the opportunity to scroll? Do you need to keep them captivated? Are you expecting it to stick?
Because their attention spans are gonna be less than 2 minutes, so they're gonna already be on to the next thing.
Or is it like through authoritarian rule, they have to watch this 2 minutes?
PSA, this global PSA.
And they have to sign a
Let's
thing.
assume that. Global PSA.
They have to watch it.
Everybody's gotta watch it. What are you saying? 2 minutes.
You go first.
I don't know. Yeah, 2 minutes to educate the whole world on something. That's a heavy burden, man.
Yeah.
2 minutes. Only 2 minutes.
Yeah, maybe we can come back to this one.
Okay.
I want to think a little bit more. What's the biggest misunderstanding you see people have about physics? Do you have anything on top of your head? Let's just say like in science in general.
Yeah. I think this is something we talked about before. If it's broadly science, this is how the scientific method actually works, right? That these ideas are rigorously tested, they're peer reviewed, they go through this process of refinement, and that it's not just these like old ideas from 200 years ago. There are these laws that these old white guys came up with. Like new scientists can come and make new discoveries, and like I think that's a common misconception that the public has about science.
Yeah, okay, I would agree with that. I would say another misconception, one in quantum mechanics. There's like this misconception that's constantly being propagated, which is that if you observe something, it changes. Right. And
yeah,
this is the word observation in physics, in this context, means measurement. And it's like a quantum state will, like a quantum particle will exist in a superposition of states. But when you measure it or observe it, like an observation, a measurement, and you interact with it, which is what you have to do to measure it. You have to interact with it in some way. And that causes the wave function to collapse, like the superposition to become local, right? And it's not because you looked at it. I mean, you did look at it, but it was because you made a measurement and interacted with it.
You actually interacted with the thing,
right?
And that changed it, not just this observation from a distance as as we think about observation in the physical world.
Right.
Mhm.
And I'll see people kind of use that, and I guess it's more metaphorical than anything, and say things like, quantum mechanics tells us that if you just imagine something, the universe itself will change. They proved it with physics. Like, that's not what they proved. But with that being said, there is lots of evidence that visualization forms real pathways in your head. And so by visualizing, and you could say that that falls under this undefined umbrella of manifestation, where you believe in yourself and you think you can do certain things and you focus on it, and then it starts to happen. And in, like, my explanation would be not that it's quantum physics, but that you probably are affecting your brain in a positive way by thinking like that, by
Mhm.
like deluding yourself into believing in yourself and getting that confidence. And then when you start to truly believe that, you sort of project that outwards, and people psychologically pick up on you. So it's more like a social cue thing, and they're like, oh, like this person, there's something about this person. They're more confident. Maybe I want to give them an opportunity. Maybe you like kill an interview or something like that.
Mhm.
And so it's easy to then, fall into thinking, it's just like confirmation bias. Oh yeah, it is. Like, this is quantum physics. I'm thinking about it and I'm changing the superpositions everywhere. And it's like, but metaphorically, I think that that's I think that's actually a pretty cool metaphor.
Yeah, I just wish
But it is a
people
misconception.
perceived it as a metaphor
Right.
and not like.
Which there's nothing wrong with that, right? To like point something out and then say that it's a metaphor. You don't have to say, see, this is just like quantum physics.
Right.
Yeah. I actually like doing that sometimes in my psychom. You like learn things about the universe, and they can be metaphorical. It can sort of be like a parable.
Yeah. I think
that
those are always better ways to teach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it makes it like makes it, connect. It makes it resonate, connects with your life. Totally.
Yeah.
All right. We did pretty good on that one, I think.
Yeah.
How can we stop AI from being used to profile, track, and detain?
Using AI to profile people and
It's definitely
track them.
being used to profile.
Profile and track them. Yeah, like, well, you can stop doing that by reading the long terms of service on every app before you download it.
Yeah.
Right. And then maybe like also not downloading and using those apps, which are very important for us to be social and functional in society today. So we almost unwillingly consent to being profiled or submitting our data to this database. I'd imagine a future where data becomes a little bit more protected. But
You think?
like, whose interest is that? That's the best interest of the public.
It doesn't seem like that's the direction we're going in.
But I can imagine a public uprising if there's a reasonable comprehension of the dangers of this in society, like at scale, where people are just like, you know what? No, this is an issue. We need to make new laws around who owns our data. And maybe it's not all of our data. Like, maybe we've already consented to giving a lot of it away. But like, who do I want owning my biometric data? Like my heart rate. Like, I don't want Apple to own like knowing my name and my heart rate next to it. Like, that doesn't feel good. Something
Take off that Apple Watch,
inferior, which of course I don't ever wear. So
oh yeah, Android guy over here. Yeah, I mean, it almost feels like my gut says that right now we can't stop AI from doing anything. We can't stop anything. There's no regulations on anything. People are doing whatever they want. So it really feels like the answer to that, I don't know if I fully understand like all of the things that are being implied there, but the answer feels like nothing. We can't do anything to stop it.
You know whose data is not being tracked and profiled, to my understanding? The Luddites, the Mormons, the folks that stay away from the technology. The Amish. I'm sorry, the Amish. I always confuse it too.
Mormons caught a crazy stray just now. Any
Let
Mormons
me
out there, we apologize.
Let me start that answer from the top.
Tell us how you really feel, man.
No, you know who doesn't give their data? You know who's not giving their data away are the Amish, right? These are the folks that aren't engaging in any of these technological tools and not using them. You good over there, man?
I'm good, bro.
I don't know what you like.
Mormons are getting their data siphoned just like the rest of us.
The Amish, man. It's the Amish. They're avoiding that. And yeah, if you maybe move away from society, you can not have your data harvested.
So there you go. You want to stop yourself from being tracked by AI? Go join an Amish community.
Perhaps so. Okay, this one's interesting. What keeps you optimistic in a landscape of pseudoscience and misinformation?
That is a good question. What keeps me optimistic? I'm generally an optimistic person all the time. And I think that with pseudoscience and misinformation, which is certainly rampant now.
Hey, everybody, thank you so much for joining Curiosity Theory. If you want to support us, check out our Patreon.
You will find behind the scenes footage, never before seen bonus content, and never to be seen again, but enticing and provocative nonetheless. Do a Q&A with Justin and myself, and maybe even weigh in on future episode topics for Curiosity Theory.
You know, one of the tiers I think they should check out is the Galaxy Brain tier, which basically means you're a super smart person if you decide to support us.
It's the only tier. Justin came up with it. He's very proud of the name. Check us out, Curiosity Theory. There's pseudoscience that's going crazy right now, but is it like crazier than pseudoscience has ever been? If I had to, try to step back and be objective here and look at things in a vacuum, I would say that the amount of pseudoscience right now compared to most other times is much lower. Misinformation maybe is much higher, kind of as a consequence of the internet, but I feel optimistic, from a personal standpoint, because I feel, and we're all vulnerable to misinformation and disinformation, right? But I feel comfortable with my ability to like filter through things like this, at least to some extent, where I'm not just gonna, I want to say fall for anything, but and be gullible, because I'm pretty skeptical. But like I said, it's possible for anybody to fall for these things.
So I guess
but I do feel like I have a tool belt to try and figure out what is misinformation. And that's a lot of what we do on the show. We
talked about our framework and like how we critically analyze information on the internet. Right. So I guess your healthy skepticism is the tool that keeps you optimistic.
Interestingly, interesting. My skepticism, which is
I can't lie, man. I think I've felt like, I also think I'm a pretty optimistic person, but I honestly have felt like the sea of pseudoscience and misinformation kind of getting to me from my own perspective, because it just feels like the reverence of anti-science sentiments is stronger than I can ever remember it, except for maybe like during I don't remember this, but like witch hunts and things like that, right? But like if you had a scientist maybe in the 1800s, I heard stories about this where the scientists would come and do like a 2-hour lecture, and people would just sit for 2 hours and listen to this person pontificate about their studies and the things that they had uncovered. And there was a reverence for like, well, this person is rigorous and they took their time to do this, and maybe their science wasn't as good as ours is today, but there was a respect for the process.
Yeah.
And it just feels like it's like more respect for this guy who like watched a bunch of YouTube videos and like summarized them in this compelling way than someone who like really goes the distance and learns about it. And I'm like, dang. So I think for a minute there, I felt a little like, I don't know, jaded, maybe I would say. I don't want to say entirely defeated, but
well, this example that you talk about with a lecturer who comes and gives like a 2-hour lecture to a room, I'm assuming of like maybe 50 or like 100 people. But, our show gets listened to by many more people than that.
That's an interesting
for many
take.
more hours. And then you just think about like online, where there's, yes, tons and tons of misinformation, but there are also people who are watching hundreds of thousands of hours of experts who have been putting out content, not just for a lecture, but for, enough lectures to fill end-to-end days for months or weeks or years.
Yeah, and that's actually what I was going to say is what's keeping me optimistic is working on a show like this. Like, it makes me feel like I'm a part of the solution, like I'm on the side of progress. And yeah, I actually didn't think of it as, analogous to these lecturers from yesteryear, like pontificating in front of an audience. That is pretty much what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty good question. What's your favorite conspiracy theory?
Flat Earth. No, I'm just playing. I don't know, man. Favorite conspiracy? I don't know if I'm like a super hardcore conspiracy guy.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
This one was interesting to me. This one feels really close to home, too. So the LA wildfires happened recently, displaced a lot of people at the top of the year. And there was an ongoing conspiracy that, people were trying to turn LA into a smart city. And so the most efficient way to build a smart city is to burn down all this old architecture and then charge the insurance companies and then have it rebuilt modern, like a modern version of it rebuilt from the ground up. And so there were conspiracies saying like, yeah, this is a part of this bigger plan. Like this is being burned for a reason. I was like, that's intriguing.
That's your favorite?
I don't know if it's my favorite. It's just one that came
Like,
to mind.
do you believe? But like, in that you think it's interesting, or that you think that's like compelling, or
I think it's interesting and somewhat compelling, but again, I always say extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and I haven't seen any extraordinary evidence to support it.
mm,
But I think it's
okay.
interesting.
Okay,
What about you?
interesting. I don't really think that I believe in conspiracies like that specifically, but I believe in them like more broadly or generally. So sometimes. So a good example of this is that like a lot of times with conspiracy theories, the presumption is that there's like this secret room of a few individuals who have these really nefarious goals, and they're, making these decisions to screw everybody over. And I think that oftentimes the systems that we've set up kind of like naturally allow for these things to happen on their own. Like a for-profit healthcare system, by definition, is going to end up screwing over lots of people in the ways that our healthcare system does. And I don't think that that's like a conspiracy though. Like you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? I guess it's just that like in general, the way that we act as humans and systems that all are trying to do the best thing for ourselves kind of makes things shake out in a way that makes it seem like there's an evil person in charge with bad intent. But and that can be that like the outcome can be the same, but it's not. But you can never like find the room with the person to blame. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
And so a lot of times it's like the the premise of the conspiracy is like true, but it's so much larger of a problem than you're thinking of. It's not like the guy in the room that's pushing a button.
Right. Conversely, I do think, I mean, yeah, when you think of like these large financial institutions, like there are a small group of people that make these decisions that impact a lot of people. We talked about this in another episode. AI researchers, all kind of contributing their biases, and they're trying to be objective, hopefully.
Yeah.
When they're building these tools, their decisions are impacting hundreds of millions of people today.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a conspiracy.
That's not a conspiracy. That literally, yeah.
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 So, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that is. Good point.
What do you think about immortality? How will we achieve it and possibly when?
What do I think about it? I think it's when you don't die.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the definition of it.
When do I think we'll achieve it? I don't think that we will. If it ever happens, I think it'll be like this uploading to the cloud thing. And that's like a version of it, maybe, if that's even possible, which it may not be possible to like perfectly.
Okay, so
replicate a human brain.
there's organisms on Earth that are like, this is a term I've heard used colloquially by scientists of biological immortality, like lobsters, right? That they continue to shed exoskeletons and grow and grow and grow, and then a lot of times they don't die unless like a predator comes and eats them, but they can just keep growing and growing. I've heard this about jellyfish who have these like cycles of life, right? Like they start off as these polyps, like they're upside down and they float off. And then they have their phase with the Medusa phase, where they're like the jellyfish that we visually see them. And then at some point, they are, and I forget how this cycle works exactly, but they kind of revert back into these stacks of polyps of Medusae. So they're kind of biologically immortal in this cyclical way. So maybe the way that humanity achieves biological immortality, right, which isn't true immortality because we can still be killed, is by engineering our bodies in similar ways that lobsters or jellyfish have done, and maybe achieving some kind of cyclical state. I think it's an interesting philosophical exploration.
I guess I would just think that that's not possible. Like splicing a genome that we don't really understand that much about with another animal's genome that we don't understand that much about.
Well, I think and maybe that specific thing is not as feasible. But if you think about what aging actually is, it's microscopic damage that's occurred, the accumulation of damage that's occurred on a micro scale because of the degradation of our DNA.
Is that what aging is?
Well, that's like based on this book about telomerase that I was reading and telomeres. which are kind of like I don't know if you're familiar with this concept.
This thing, I don't know much about them, but that they get shorter over time.
Right. So telomeres, like if your chromosomes were shoestrings, telomeres are like the shoestring, the casing on your shoestrings that keep the integrity of the chromosomes intact.
Yeah.
And these telomeres shorten over time as we age, and their ability to preserve the integrity of our DNA also decreases. And so most of the health effects that we have, like cancers, slowing down our bodies physically, not keep healing as fast, are a byproduct of this microscopic damage. Our cells don't replicate as efficiently. And that's kind of like a new age understanding of aging, And so if aging is simply an engineering problem, like a micro engineering problem, then that seems like it would be pretty solvable.
You think? Like, how do you know that aging isn't something that's absolutely necessary for organisms to continue to exist? Like, the preservation of an individual does not necessarily equal to the longevity of the species.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that evolutionarily speaking, we have a reason to grow old, right? Our reproductive years right now are in.
Wait, you think that we do have a reason to grow old? Or you're saying you don't think we have a reason to grow old?
There's no evolutionary purpose besides maybe like parenthood and things like that. To my understanding, to like that would incentivize us to be in our 80s and beyond, right?
To like continue living, you mean?
To continue living past our 80s.
Yeah.
Because essentially what's happening is, we reproduce in our like 20s and 30s, sometimes in our 40s, and for men sometimes way beyond that. But we're not like biologically incentivized to age beyond, a certain time period.
Yeah, everything kind of like fails around the same time.
Right. But
which is efficient evolutionarily.
Right. But if that failure is simply an accumulation of damage on a micro scale, and like it's really just an engineering problem, and we just haven't developed the tools to engineer our cells in the way to prevent that damage, that could be solved.
Interesting.
Now, again, this is based on my understanding of the science.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Why not?
So the damage that you're talking about is each replication that happens
is
for any cell over your entire life. And the problem being solved is fixing every single cell.
Or fixing the replication mechanism.
In your body.
Just fixing the replication mechanism. Or stem cells, right? Like stem cells are cells that can turn into other cells in your body. They can be injected into injured parts of your body to repair them, recreate them. So there could be workarounds.
It just sounds like way too. It sounds way too simple.
I'm sure. Yeah, it sounds like a sales pitch from the tech bro.
Yeah, like old girl with the pinprick, the one drop of blood. What was her name?
Elizabeth Holmes with Theranos. Yeah, she thought with one drop of blood you could come up with all these indicators.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess health. I just don't think think it's possible.
What's interesting though about Elizabeth Holmes is that there is a new research lab like many years later that may be able to pull this off now, because a lot of the technology has advanced since she claimed it was possible in that time period. I think that's one thing about exponential growth curves of technological innovations that's hard for our brains to grasp, because we can't always know what is possible in the future or what could be invented that works in the future.
Yeah, that's a good point. So we always leave room for that. I guess it's just the problem of understanding our genome and the replication of all cells in our body. To me, that sounds like an insurmountable problem, but maybe I'm just not optimistic enough.
Well, now we can have full-fledged conversation with robots, and that didn't seem very feasible like 5 years ago.
It seemed feasible to me. It seemed feasible, right? Like we're not talking about like it seemed feasible.
Okay, I'm not mad at it. Okay, this is interesting. We were just talking about something like this. What are your thoughts on international space law and its impact on the future?
My thoughts on international space law? I actually don't know much about international space law. I'm assuming that there's
it's primarily based on a set of United Nations treaties.
So those will be followed by the people that feel like they have to follow them, I bet.
Yeah. So celestial bodies and space activities are to be used exclusively for peaceful purposes. States are liable for damage caused by their space objects. Now, this is more rules than I thought existed. States must assist astronauts in distress and return them to their launching country.
I guess that's a good start.
Yeah, that's not
Who
too bad.
enforces it?
The cosmos. I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting though.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of room for innovation here, though. I think there's going to
Yeah.
be a lot of jobs we talked about created in the future
Mm-hmm.
that impact the laws in space and maybe different jurisdictions. Like I think the laws on the moon be different from the laws on an asteroid mining site or a floating space station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would be. I wonder if. Yeah. Like, what would that look like? Would this thing be recognized as like its own nation that needed its own like constitution?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Very much food for thought. Okay, this is a good one. I don't know if we ever said this on the actual show. What is curiosity theory?
What is curiosity theory? That is a good one. So there is like a theory of curiosity in psychology, but that's not what curiosity theory is. That's different. Curiosity theory is this this idea that all humans have evolved, to be a certain way. We've evolved for a certain diet, for certain lifestyles that like will require us to be at least moderately physically active, just like how our ancestors were living. And of course, this is also true for like the social and emotional aspect. Like there's a reason that humans, their mentality degrades when you keep them in isolation. This is like one of the worst things you can do to a prisoner, because when you're not interacting with other people, you literally can't function. That's not a state that any of our ancestors evolved to be in any way. We need people.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we evolved is this like deep curiosity about the world. It explains why we came up with every mythology that we ever could, far before we could actually find out the answers to these things, because we wanted to understand them. They were important. We needed to be able to have answers for why things were the way that they were. We've always had that curiosity. And so humans, our ancestors that were most curious, were able to make connections. Maybe ones that were there, maybe ones that weren't there. Maybe it was, you would be favored to make wrong connections as long as you were trying to make connections, because you'd be right enough times, right? And so maybe our ancestors that weren't curious enough, they didn't have that tick in them. They just weren't innovative enough. They couldn't learn enough to pass on their genes, and they went extinct. So we all have that. But in modern times, you really don't have to be curious about anything to survive. You don't have to be curious about the migration patterns of animals to be able to eat. You don't have to be curious about like why some of these plants grow better over here than over there to make sure that you can do agriculture. You don't have to be curious about much to survive, right? You can just kind of get up, go to your job. And I think that we all suffer from that when we aren't being curious. Like that's one thing that we need. I would describe myself as a curious person, but I would actually think that everybody is a curious person about something.
Mm-hmm.
And that when we don't have something that's sparking our curiosity, it makes it really hard to get through. It's kind of like brings on a depression. Maybe you feel anxious, and it's because you're not, it's like eating a bad diet for a long time. You're like not feeding your body the right thing. Your mind wants to dig into problems and try to figure them out and tinker with things. And so that's curiosity theory and the idea behind the show.
Right. So that's Dakotah's 5-minute philosophical explanation. Yeah, that we all have this, and we all have this deep innate curiosity that exists within us, and it's often not stimulated by today's society, right? And we kind of view curiosity as this muscle of sorts that can be strengthened and harnessed and give us the fulfillment that we need to live a full life, right? It's not a scientific theory, but it is the mission statement of our show. And this is why we explore our curiosity for everybody's viewing pleasure.
Nice. Synthesized. Lovely.
Yeah. I don't know. I think my LLM is just like, I don't know. It's like really short. It gives shorter answers.
Yeah. Give me the cliff notes. Yeah. Awesome. You did good there. It was great. Will we ever see a behind the scenes or blooper cut? Yeah, join
Yeah.
the Patreon.
Yeah, we're
You
definitely
get
gonna
all
put that
type
on
of
the
blooper
Patreon.
cuts.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I'm uncomfortable.
Justin's whole life is a blooper cut.
Honestly, there's a lot of stuff I'm uncomfortable saying that I'm probably gonna have on the Patreon just because, it's the optics of saying some of this stuff on the airwaves.
That's clickbait. He's just trying to get y'all to sign up.
Maybe so.
Oh, more about your activities outside of the podcast. What kind of things do you like to do?
What kind of things do I like to do? Well, we already talked about I'm a digital nomad. I've been traveling for like 160 days now, living on different people's couches, surfing, vibing. That's kind of a new age lifestyle, I think. What other things? I like to play basketball, actually. Yeah. I feel like I'm always like awkward with this question. What about you? What do you like?
You sound like Kawhi Leonard. I'm a fun guy. What do I like to do outside of the podcast? I like to edit videos for the podcast. Come up with clip ideas for the podcast. I like to tell people to follow the podcast on Spotify. But I'm starting to realize that maybe this podcast is consuming my life a little bit. What else do I like to do? So I like going to art museums. I'm a curious person. I like going to art museums.
Okay, that's a good one.
I like checking out new festivals that have maybe like food or music. Yeah. Just like having new experiences, kind of like seeing new things.
Yeah, that's good. Like new stimulation, new adventure. I like traveling. Yeah. I like sci-fi, like consuming science fiction.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that too. Like I like going to the movies. I love going to the movies for two reasons. And I'll be pissed if I go to the movie and they don't have a slushie machine. Some movie theaters don't. The AMC ones always do. They got a slushie, and I like to go red with blue, obviously. Sometimes they have white.
What do you do?
But never Coke.
What do you do if you don't get your slushie, Dakotah?
We'll just go to a different movie.
You're going to leave the movie theater?
I'm not going to even sign up to go to one that doesn't have the slushie machine.
You check that before you go to a movie theater.
And I eat it, and I eat the popcorn and drink the slushie before the movie even starts, during the credits. I'm like going crazy. It's so good to me. I don't know why.
I think all kinds of, like, we celebrate neurodiversity here on the Curiosity.
Okay. I feel included. The Expanse. What did they get right versus wrong? The Expanse is this sci-fi, in case anybody hasn't seen it, that's sort of heralded as one of the poster children for sticking to the science as much as you can in a sci-fi without like ruining things. And there's this one scene that I think they did better than I've ever seen anybody do in a space movie. And it's what would happen to a person that was ejected out of an airlock in space. Usually what you see is that as soon as they go out there, they freeze to death. I think that's probably the most common one. Mm-hmm. Another one that you see is that their bodies like explode or something because the gas expands, and the gas would definitely expand. So if you're like outside of a suit in space, you don't want to be holding air in your lungs. And if you're out there for too long, like your blood will start to boil because you lose. The pressure is so low outside that the boiling point is basically where you're at. Mm-hmm. But you wouldn't freeze, like you wouldn't get icy. Definitely not right away. You think about what's cold in space. What's cold in space? What is cold in space?
Like wait, what
like
exactly?
I think that sci-fi has sort of conditioned us to think that space is freezing cold.
Right.
But it's like, what's cold in space? Space is a vacuum.
So it's
there's
like
nothing
the void
there.
Of like
it's
the
void of
cold
atoms
that is required for temperature.
Like when you're outside and it's cold outside, what's cold is the air. There's cold air that's touching you. There's no cold air in space. There's nothing there. So you would freeze to death in space. If you could get around the fact that you couldn't breathe, if you could get around the fact that the pressure is off, you would freeze to death. But it's because your body is slowly radiating heat. It's not because you're like in a frozen tundra. So you wouldn't like get icy right away.
So what did Expanse do exactly? That was so right. I never saw it.
Captain Naomi or Officer Naomi, I think her name's Naomi. It's been a long time since I've seen it. she jumps from one spaceship to another one. Now, I don't know if, it was definitely dramatized, but, in theory, for a very short amount of time, I think that you could probably survive something like that if you were not in space for that long and you immediately like got into a ship. The way that they did it, I think was as realistic as I've ever seen.
Hmm.
And, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that's interesting. I got to check out The Expanse.
It's
Keep
good.
hearing great things about it.
What are your favorite books for personal growth and development
Personal growth and
or
development.
mindset?
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit before about Atomic Habits. It's definitely one of my favorite books. Kind of not beating yourself up for not being motivated enough to achieve the task, but instead thinking of yourself as an engineer of an inadequate system and addressing that system so that you can achieve your goals more efficiently. So I actually use a lot of the tenets from that book to run the LA Marathon and kind of change my other parts of my life in a lot of different ways.
It's kind of funny to hear you say that because you're like, the inadequate system is your life.
Or even like,
so you're like an engineer, but it's like this, but things in your life are not the way that you want them. And if you change them a little bit, they could be.
Right.
Yeah.
So I love that one. Anyone come off top?
Yeah, I think my favorite book is it's called The Laws of Human Nature.
Robert Greene.
Yeah. And The Laws of Human Nature. So he kind of opens it, and this is a good synopsis of the book, is like thinking of humans as having a nature. Like, we have human nature. We evolved to be a certain way. We all roughly have the same emotions, right? People act certain ways in certain situations. And that if you think of people as like something to observe, right? Then the things that happen to you from other people, they don't have to be these things that like really offend you and hurt you and cause you lots of pain. If you kind of think of the things that people do as facts, kind of like collecting facts as a scientist would about planets, or, I'd never be offended that this planet is losing its atmosphere. It's just the planet is close to the star puts out energy, the planet's going to lose it's just a fact. And that you could try, it's hard because we get so wrapped up in our emotions, but you can try to think of your experience as a human that way, where you are like observing these things and it's like, that person acted like that, but it's probably not personal. I don't need to like let this ruin my day. There's probably like a bunch of things going on that they're not even aware about, and they weren't even aware that they kind of tried to take it out on me. And just like seeing the behavior of others as facts to be observed, as opposed to like instances to be offended or
taking
hurt
it
by.
personally. Yeah, I think that's a really good one. We talked about this a little bit. Like, a lot of people have different opinions on him. My guy David Goggins, he's an ultra marathon runner. He wrote this book. Actually, I have an autograph book from David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me, where he kind of talks about his life story and how he was overweight and then joined the Marines and then became this ultra marathon runner who also held a world record for the most pull-ups ever done by a human.
How many did you do?
Shoot, we got to fact check that one. I'm not 100% sure.
Most pull-ups done by a human.
His
what's
record
the
has
next?
been-
What's
his record
the
has been
leading
beaten.
animal? Who has the full record? Is it?
Well, I don't think it's an animal with a full record. So he set this record in 2013. It was 4,030 in 17 hours.
That's insane.
17 hours worth of pull-ups.
I
But
don't know if I've done 4,000 pull-ups in my life.
yeah, no, but I think this guy just has a certain approach to life where he talks about his mentality. And when we talk about mental health, we talk about it as a series of tools, frameworks that you can use to better understand how to navigate your world. And I think of David Goggins as a philosopher of sorts, right? Where like his, going hard, facing adversity, challenges, philosophy isn't applicable in all contexts. But when I'm feeling down, I go watch a David Goggins video or read that book, and it just gets me in the right headspace.
Yeah. I think it's powerful to be able to have that mentality when you need it.
Yeah.
And to like not have it at a time where it could take you to the next level or like help get you through something, I think would be a shame. I think that we all need to have a diverse philosophical and psychological tool belt to take things when we need them and apply them where necessary, where applicable.
Precisely. Totally. Yeah.
So somebody asked about energy and AI data centers. So it seems like a huge impending problem that will only be solved by somehow finding more energy, which I think most readily is available through nuclear energy through fusion.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to invest in R&D for nuclear, and people are doing it. We've been doing like nuclear research for a while.
Right. So yeah, scaling up energy production, but also scaling up the efficiency of these AI tools,
Yeah.
like DeepSeek's innovations, which made AI, the LLMs, like significantly more efficient. Those had ramifications for all large language models. They were able to apply those innovations across the landscape. So
Yeah.
I imagine more of those are going to also come down the pipe as well. But yeah, I think it's a very important issue right now. I think people are talking about it, but not everybody's informed about it. And a lot of technology companies aren't being pressured to disclose the energy consumptions of their data centers, specifically as it pertains to AI. Like that's really hard data to actually mine and get precise results from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. What are you looking at?
You running low on steam, man. You want to answer like a couple more of these?
Yeah, no, I'm running high on steam. Let's do let's do a speed round.
Okay.
Do I seem like I'm running low on steam?
Well, just the
Oh, did I say that out loud?
Okay. This is a quick question. How do you overcome self-doubt when dealing with something like a test?
Oh, that's a really good one. The only way, I mean, this is sort of my philosophy in general. The way that you overcome self-doubt is kind of like by proving it to yourself that you can like do the things, building confidence, and that usually comes from, in my experience, there's no real shortcut for that. It's from like doing the work, doing things that you're proud of, putting yourself out there. And specifically for a test, I'll give you a great example. In grad school, after my second year, I took a comprehensive exam, and it's like if you pass this, you get your master's. So I got my master's in astrophysics, and then you like continue on with the PhD. And for us, our comprehensive exam is an oral exam in front of the panel of professors at the university, and they basically just ask you anything that you've learned in graduate school from all the grad courses that we took over the past 2 years. They just ask you, and you kind of just got to work out the math on the board and give them the answer. And for me, that was something that was very like stress inducing. It's I mean, it can be challenging to solve, especially like doing math on the spot in front of a panel to be graded like that. It's not even the same as like doing a written test.
Mm-hmm.
There's like that element of eyes being on you. And the way that I got over my self-doubt there was for like 4 hours a night for 3 or 4 months leading up to the exam. I practiced problems every single day. And the next day I went back and redid the problems from the day before. And at the end of the week, I would cycle through all of them. And I just got to the point where I felt like I could answer any question that they could possibly ask me. And that's how I prepared for that test. And I got up and I passed with flying colors. And I don't know what the right number of studying hours was. Maybe it was half that amount, but I think that that's sort of also a price that you pay when you are like working towards something, is you really don't know where the line is. So you want to be sure that you just didn't do not enough.
Yeah. I think that's something that makes you pretty unique though. Because I think
What?
your threshold for like work and like, yeah, like I think some people would be like, oh no, that's a lot. And you're like, no, I actually need to do like twice as much as that.
Yeah. I mean, well, like I said, it may have been overkill. Looking back, it probably was, but that was how I didn't feel confident at the beginning, thinking about this exam I was going to have to take.
Mm-hmm.
And then I felt confident the day I walked in there. And the only difference was that number of hours working on those problems.
Getting the reps in.
Yeah. What about you?
Overcoming self-doubt, I think I would say that I've built like what's called a battle-hardened confidence. Yeah. And that's just through testing myself.
Yeah.
And like failing a lot and seeing myself also come on the other side of that. And so I'm not afraid to go try this new thing or deal with this new thing that I've never dealt with because, well, I survived all this other stuff that was challenging and I dealt with.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's just repetition.
If you don't mind me asking, what do you consider like some failures of yours, or like maybe one thing that you look back on, you like, yeah, that was a failure.
Like something that, and it's hard sometimes as an entrepreneur to look at things as a failure because you like, there's projects that you start
you got a growth mindset, right? And so it's like the thing you
Yeah.
learned something, you got better, and
But
then you
yeah.
iterated and you succeeded later.
Right, like the bus
Mm.
project I was telling you about, the Magic Cool Bus project. We got Mad Mike. If you remember the TV show Pimp My Ride, we got the guy Mad Mike from Pimp My Ride to make a video agreeing to help us build our bus. I raised like $10,000 for the bus. I was talking to Kyrie Irving's dad and his financial manager right before COVID, in February 2020, about the prospect of building this bus, this nonprofit project to build this team of 100 volunteers in New York. And then because COVID hit, they couldn't justify kind of supporting us. And then the project, I think, was put on ice. It still have all the decks and all the stuff, and there's a lot of people riding, but it just doesn't feel like something that makes sense for me to focus on right now anymore. But I learned so much from just like putting myself out there, making a fundraising video for it, doing programs for kids that weren't in a bus, but like a version of the bus, like in classrooms and stuff like that. But yeah, like I now my vision for it is like actually self-funding it one day, like when I have the resources to do that.
That's dope.
Yeah,
that's dope.
So yeah, maybe we'll do because we're getting close to time, so maybe we'll do 2 more questions. How's that sound?
I mean, if we stop monologuing on the answers, we could probably get through a lot.
Yeah, if we stop doing that, sure,
it's a team effort.
Yeah, us too. Got to stop that.
Do y'all think STEM and higher ed is a viable path for people without class privilege in 2025?
100%. Yes. Absolutely, without a doubt, yes. If you don't have class privilege, but you have access to a library in your local vicinity that you can walk to, and get a library card, which has an internet connection. A lot of internet connections are reasonable speed to do self-directed learning. Go to YouTube University, teach yourself a viable skill, right? And then build a digital portfolio, put it on a free platform, like LinkedIn, or, like even on Instagram, you can take screenshots of these cool things that you built and then make a resume for yourself of cool projects. And then you can get yourself into a STEM career without getting any certifications, paying for any certifications, paying for any traditional education. You can literally circumvent this whole process if you're resourceful enough and know what to look for, which I do think is partially a matter of privilege. But if you can find those things, I think you can get yourself wherever you want to go in STEM, besides a traditional research path, which requires specific
Okay, so that was, so that was like a STEM outside, because she says
ed.
a high,
STEM,
the question says
ed.
STEM and higher ed.
Yeah.
So you kind of described like a STEM path without the higher ed part, which, I mean, people are doing that. People are doing that all the time. Exactly what you just described. I would say, yes. And from personal experience, the question does say in 2025. So I'm not starting in 2025, but I started, for me, it was 10 years ago, and I didn't have any class privilege. I didn't have any privilege at all when I started this. I started from the bottom, doing it the hardest way, working at nights while I was going to community college during the day. And one thing that I get really tired of hearing people say, which is not what this question says at all, is that like education is over, or there's no point in getting an education. And it's like, for as long as anybody can remember, and still today, one of the most reliable paths for upward mobility in life, like from class mobility in life, is securing an education. Like that's always been true. Are there people who do it without it? Absolutely. But it's one of the most reliable engines for upward mobility that we have. It's still true. And, I 15 years ago, if you would have told me that I was going to get a PhD in astrophysics, I would have been like, nah, I wouldn't even want to, right? That's just like not anything that we did. So I would say yes. I don't, I would say yes. And I would just point to myself for that.
Yeah. I mean, you got to put your mind to it. There's programs out there. There's ways to do things for free. You don't always have to shell out money to get to either of these pathways.
Right? Yeah. It does make it can be exceedingly hard though, especially without that.
It's not going to be easy.
What is something you wish you could learn more about?
Something I wish I could learn more about. Quantum physics, honestly. I think that
Should we do an episode?
I think we should do an episode on quantum physics. I want to do more research about it. I'd love to feature like a quantum physics researcher or someone who's like trying to work in an applied side of this field.
quantum computing, something like
Yeah,
that.
like someone working on these like quantum chips, which I know there's a few companies that have like early versions of those now.
Yeah, I actually got a one of my homies on this guy Mozzie. He also makes SciComm content,
Cool.
and I think he's the CEO of a quantum computing
Oh wow,
company. Yeah.
that sounds super cool.
Maybe we'll have him, see if we can get him on.
All right. Okay. Here's maybe we can finish on this one. I think this one is cool. Would you bring a philosopher on the podcast? Ha ha.
What kind of philosopher?
I just think, like, generally speaking, a philosophical individual. I don't know.
Do you consider yourself to be a philosophical individual?
Yeah, I guess so.
Is that pretentious of you? Do you think?
I think anyone could be a philosopher, though.
Yeah, but do you
like I
think
said,
you sound pretentious when you just said that right now?
referring to myself as a philosopher? I don't know if like is there like an inherent elitism in thinking?
I don't know. I'm just
yourself as
asking.
one who philosophizes.
Whoa, man!
Like,
Don't get so insecure. I'm just asking questions.
I don't think that's a big deal.
No, yeah. I mean, I would totally. You know, I think that I don't know what this what this person was referring to, but I think that what's interesting is to have conversations around thoughts that I haven't had before.
Yeah.
I think that like new thoughts, new ways of thinking about something, people that I really like to follow online and make content, podcasts I like to listen to are people who talk about things that and put them in ways that I haven't heard them before, like new ideas.
Yeah.
And sometimes you disagree with it, right? But it's like you said that in a way, I can tell that you thought about that yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're not like regurgitating the ideas that we've all heard 8 billion times. You're trying to like filter information through your own lens and come up with your own unique perspective or your own way of looking at it. And I really appreciate that because I feel like that's like something to like widen my perspective.
Yeah.
And like give me new tools to use in my tool belt.
You know, and that's funny that you mentioned that. And I think this is a great note to close on because that is precisely what we're trying to do here at Curiosity Theory. Present people with new ideas and ways that they haven't thought about them.
Like that.
And yeah, expand people's consciousness and approach to living a productive and fulfilling life.
Exactly. Thinking about stuff in new ways.
Right. So hopefully you all did some of that on this episode.
Subscribe to the Patreon. Get in on this next Q&A. Answer your questions.
Yeah, and check out our Galaxy Brain tier, which is my personal favorite that I made up.
The one and only.